At Midway USA, we put customers first. The Nitro Express shipping system is icing on the cake. It was a big investment of time and money to take super fast, low-cost shipping to a whole new level. The Nitro Express helps ensure same-day shipping and low shipping cost. We hope you enjoy the Nitro Express. We built it just for you. For just about everything for the outdoors, go to MidwayUSA.com.
I'm Larry Potterfield with Midway USA. Thanks for your business.
Midway USA's online gun shop includes an extensive selection of handguns, rifles, shotguns, and receivers. We've made it extremely easy to browse and buy guns from the convenience and privacy of your own home. Simply pick from our extensive offering, ship it to your local FFL, and you'll be shooting in no time. For just about everything for guns, shop MidwayUSA.com.
Every year, as deer and duck camp wind down and the holiday rush picks up, there's this moment where you look at the meat you brought home. Hindquarters, shoulder, a freezer full of fresh birds and fish, and think, this is going to feed people I love. Thanksgiving turkeys, Christmas roast, New Year's feast. They all start in a place like this. A cold morning, a full pack, a good clean shot, maybe some misses. And now it's time to turn that harvest into something worth gathering around. Let's talk about how to make it all shine.
Join Justin Townsend and the Harvesting Nature crew as they explore the world of cooking wild fish and game while sharing recipes, tips, tricks, and lessons learned from their pursuit of wild food. We sure hope you ate before the show, 'cause you're gonna leave hungry. This is the Wild Fish and Game Podcast.
Welcome back to the Wild Fish and Game Podcast. Today we're talking about taking fresh wild meat from deer, ducks, geese, turkey, even fish, and turning it into holiday centerpieces. Maybe you have something lying around from spring turkey. Maybe you've been fishing all summer. Maybe you found great success at deer camp this fall. Well, the best time to put those out on plates is often when you've got family gathering or friends gathering for big events. So today we're going to cover choosing cuts. We'll talk roasting, slow cooking, some global traditions. We'll discuss sides, maybe even dip our toe into the world of cocktails. We'll examine the dishes that have brought people together around the holiday table for centuries. We'll also point you to a lot of amazing holiday recipes from ourselves and our talented field staff writers. So, with that, Adam.
Yeah, I thought I'd kick it off today with maybe just talking about our own holiday traditions. Do you have any meals that you kind of stick to or like to cook for holidays? Like, do you have a favorite roast that you try to make, or?
I do. I like ham a lot.
Yeah.
Is my meat of choice. I'm not as big a much turkey fan, especially domestic turkey. I've really evolved to appreciate ham, whether it's pork ham or deer ham. I think they always kind of land on the table. I have to have a little forethought to think about brining and curing it before the holiday gets here and before the meals do. It's not something you can just whiplash do in a day or two. You got to start a couple weeks out and let it set. But man, we've got some great ham recipes on the website, and one of them happens to be my very own, which I'm really, really proud of. And it works with pork or venison or anything you really have that you could do a ham with. So that'd be my holiday tradition, I think. And fish. We generally, we started this when my daughter was little. We would go out and catch a big fish on Christmas, either Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, and then come back and we prepare it, the whole fish, and then kind of break it down and serve it up, and it became a big event. So that's another awesome tradition I guess we started.
Cool. Yeah, I've been actually just finished up butchering deer for an outfitter for rifle season, and a lot of the guys were asking about deer ham, and I pointed them all towards that recipe of yours. So you'll have some holiday hams kicking around, I think, this year up in Canada. Great. Yeah, I actually, for my own holidays, it's just my partner Kathy and I usually. We don't have any kids or anything. We're kind of far away from our families, so usually I make something small. I don't make a massive roast for ourselves, but often I'll do, something with wild goose, like Canada goose, or maybe like some sort of venison roast that's a little smaller, like a sirloin tip or something. I find with the larger family gatherings, there's usually traditions already in place. So they have their turkey or their whatever, and no one's all that excited about me coming in and tromping on tradition, even though I'd love to, and cook something big and wild for them. But I've been known to do, like, with friends that do like a big turducken made from scratch, or porchetta or something like the.
Okay, you're invited to my Thanksgiving feast.
Yeah, I like doing something ridiculously time consuming and fun. So like, if you've never had porchetta before, it's not necessarily wild, but it's basically a pork loin brined, wrapped in a whole pork belly. And then, wrapped in prosciutto or ham, and then a whole pork belly kind of tied around it, and then slow roasted with all the crackling on it, and it's stupid good. But be aware that it will put all your guests to sleep. So if you have plans to party that night, it's not going to happen after a meal like that. Yeah, but for the wild stuff, I usually stick to something like, I like goose. It's a little kind of fun traditional, but I make it a little differently. It's always a little fun.
It's funny you say that, talking about like a big party after the initial meal. So also too, traditionally, my family back home in Oklahoma, they have a fish fry on the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving, and that's when everybody like does their party, because on the day everybody's like cooking during the day, and then you eat, and you're kind of like slow eating all day, so you're just generally just kind of full the whole entire day. So people, I think you're right, tend to go to bed early that evening after a full belly. So having the party on the night before turns into like a cool deal. Plus, it ends up like catfish and bluegill and crappie and sunfish and all kinds of stuff end up in the fryer, and like whatever else is hanging around too, meat wise. So it ends up a fun event too.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But I want to take us into a little bit of thinking through different types of cuts, because there's definitely obviously lots of cuts on the animal, unless you take it to a very unstructured butcher, and then you're just going to get some bags of meat. But if you have a lot of cuts, these are the ones you're going to think through, and these are mainly for like your big game animals. So think about deer, elk, pronghorn, moose even works really, really well. A big holiday meal isn't the time to gamble on like tricky cuts. You want consistency, you're looking for volume, and then honestly, people love that like picturesque roast that slices or it just like kind of falls apart. So if you're looking for those options, which you should be, venison sirloin tip. So that's coming from the back quarter. It's lean, it's uniform, it's reliable, and usually on like a good sized deer, you can feed about 8 to 10 people, I'd say. It roasts well at 270 to 275 to 300, which will get you a nice medium rare consistency, which is what you're looking for. You don't want to overcook it. It's going to get super dry. And you're going to be shooting for that internal temp anywhere between 125 and 135. Remember to pull those like 5 degrees under, because at resting temp, it's going to rise 5 degrees. So don't let it kind of overcook with that. That'll be a shame. Another great one from the rear hind quarter is the top round. It's flavorful. It holds shape really well, and it's just like the sirloin tip. It's best cooked medium rare, and then you want to slice it a little thinner across the grain. That's going to help with that bite. And then opposite of the top round, I guess vertically opposite, inside, outside. We've discussed how they got their nomenclature of top round and bottom round, and it doesn't always quite match up to the direction in which you're butchering, depending on how you're butchering. But the bottom round, it's a little tougher, but it's great when you roast it low and slow. And you'll also want to shoot for medium rare for that one and slice it thin. And then, of course, everybody's favorite, I think. Well, I say everybody's favorite. The most commonly poached piece of meat in North America, the backstrap or the loin roast. This one's, I would say, more perfect for like small gatherings. You can flash roast it or even reverse sear it, cooked to medium rare. I've taken this strategy. I do it a couple different ways. I always keep one loin all the way whole. That way I can roast it just like this and slice it, and it's really good. And then the other, I cut into thirds, and we've talked about the 3 different types of meat you can expect from a loin, whereas you're like the end kind of closer to the neck tends to have more sinew in it and all that stuff like that. And that's actually like you can do a bunch of different things with it outside of just cutting it into steaks. You get your mid portion, that one's kind of good for steaks, and then that back one is more of a heavy solid piece of meat with like kind of less sinew, and that one I tend to use for like a smaller roast if I'm just cooking for like 1 or 2 people. But not a roast in the slow sense, a roast in the fast sense of like flash roasting, high heat, and then pull it off the grill or cast iron pan or wherever. You just want to roll it around in the pan or the grill until it's kind of charred on each side. And then pull it out and let it rest, and then slice it and cut it. Be sure to check your internal temp. Another one great, and I think this one's really good. If you want a lot of meat, and usually like big animals, you're going to get a lot of this. Even on like pronghorn antelope, I've seen a fair amount of come off the neck. But often overlooked, left in the field, discarded, abandoned, abused, the neck. So sad. But no, the neck's great cooked low and slow, and you can feed a very large crowd. That's like straight up. It's so versatile. It's got tons of flavor. You can throw a lot of big, bold spices at it. You can sauce it up. You can keep it, just generally plain salt and pepper. I think about like throwing together, maybe if you're looking to stack your appetizer plates, throw, some neck onto some little like rolls and make, mini Philly cheesesteaks or, whatever for like the app table. Or you can go barbecue sauce. There's so much you can do with the neck. Tacos, you can make casseroles with it. You could stack it in lasagna if you wanted a deviation from ground. Like there's loads of stuff. And then the shoulder. I actually just cooked some shoulder the other day, and actually I owe you a recipe in the next day or two, Adam, for that. But I just took the blade roast. So that's all the meat that's basically from the bottom of the blade, from the scapula to the top of that bone, all the meat. So that would be your mock tender, your flank steaks. You've got and a bunch of meat kind of on the back, kind of hiding out a little bit. There's a little flap over those first 2 cuts as well. So all those are right there, and you just, after you separate them from the rest of the leg, you just throw it in a slow cooker or a braising pot and just let it cook till you can pull that blade bone right out, and then you're good. And then you shred it and do whatever. So I took mine and I just kept it simple. I put a little bit of stock in there, and I took teriyaki and put in there with some seasonings, and I made just like these little beautiful teriyaki sliders. And that was like super straightforward and delicious. But you could easily serve that like over rice or whatever, or sub it out. I think if you're looking, I can't remember the name. I know there's an Italian dish that's just like meat slow cooked simmered in tomato sauce, but I can't remember.
Just like a ragu or like
there we go, like a ragu. Yeah, like I think a front shoulder would do really well for a ragu.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like so much.
Or even just like mashed potatoes and gravy, kind of like that. Yeah, or Yorkshire
or Mississippi pot roast.
Yeah, exactly. Which Justin has an incredible recipe on Harvesting Nature website, made from scratch, no packets or whatever all BS that's in the rest of them. Just some good quality natural ingredients. So you should definitely check that out.
Yeah, ditch the packets. You can't come to my house and eat Thanksgiving if you want packets. It won't be there.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso. Gift magical mornings with Nespresso Virtuo Pop. Compact and stylish, Virtuo Pop is made to meet every morning coffee craving. From espresso to coffee, hot or iced, at the click of a button. And celebrate the season with Nespresso's limited edition coffee flavors. Sweet almond and hibiscus, cinnamon and candied tamarind, and festive double espresso. Magic in the making. Shop the holiday gift collection exclusively at Nespresso.com.
Hey, this is Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast, here to tell you that Michelob Ultra, the official beer partner of the NBA, is bringing NBA fans closer than ever this season with chances to win great prizes, including courtside tickets. Enter now at MichelobUltra.com/courtside. Michelob Ultra Courtside 25 to 26. No purchase necessary. Open to U.S. residents 21 plus. Begins on October 1st, 2025 and ends on June 30th, 2026. Multiple entry periods. See official rules at MichelobUltra.com/courtside for free entry deadlines, prizes, and details.
So is there anything we should be avoiding when it comes to roast for holiday meals?
I honestly think that you should avoid the flank, the brisket, and the eye of round. And really, the flank and the brisket, really kind of small, so you got to be careful with those. And also a little lean, and you got to be super careful in the cooking aspect because those you can dry those out. And the eye of round, I like to save that for myself. That's usually like a late night snack of like, oh, I'm just gonna throw this in the pan and sear it real quick for myself. But definitely size wise, unless you have like an elk or a moose, you're not gonna get those out to be a size that's gonna feed a crowd. I would say random odds and ends too. Don't try to Frankenstein a roast for the holidays.
You got meat glue, or
yeah, don't try to piece something together. And then I wouldn't, honestly, I'm going to tell you this, and this comes with its own thoughts and opinions. But don't try to cook cuts that you've never cooked before. Feed your immediate family a new cut before feeding a holiday crowd, but you could get slapped with some judgment real quick. Or if you overcook or undercook something, like no napping while you're cooking, like stay in the kitchen.
Definitely.
But you got to be careful because lean game dries out fast. So temperature's always your best friend. And I will tell this over and over and over, a meat thermometer is going to save your life and reputation. You'll have to decide, if you're going to cook an oven roast, eat in medium rare, or if you're going to braise a roast until it's tender and falling apart. But Adam, I know you've got a plethora. Can you run us through some options?
Yeah, so let's talk about a little bit the differences between oven roasts and the kind of braising or slow cooker roasts, because I think a lot of people don't quite understand, like what I was catching from a lot of the hunters who I was butchering for is that they're asking for roasts. And what I tried to explain is that a roast isn't a roast necessarily. Like, there's different types of roasts, and you can pretty easily break them into oven roast versus slow cooker roast. I know there's some other different options too, but that's keeping it kind of basic. So your oven roast, it's going to be like your sirloin tip, your bottom round, your top round, your loin or backstrap roasts. Those are going to be your oven roasts. These cuts want dry heat, moderate temperatures. You're going to want to roast them at like 250 to 325 degrees Fahrenheit for a nice even cook. I prefer medium rare. You might want to push them to medium if that's your preference, but you don't want to push them past medium. They're going to get dry. They're going to get kind of like mealy. Wild game just doesn't do good like that. To start things out, you're going to make sure you pat it dry. You can either sear first for like a nice crust and then put it into the low oven, or you can reverse sear, which means at the end you've had it in the low oven until it comes to temp. And then you're going to increase the oven temperature to its highest setting. Aim for 500 degrees if your stove goes that high. Just run it through there and make it all nice and crispy and then take it right out.
Or you pour whiskey on top of it and set it on fire with a torch, and there you go.
You can do that. Burn down your kitchen. Don't do it near your Christmas tree.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah. A lot of these kind of oven roasts do really well with like a nice herb crust or like a Dijon mustard crust or your favorite spice rub all over it. You can also wrap it in bacon or pancetta or prosciutto or some sort of ham, like fatty ham, which will create extra moisture retention. It will self-baste a little bit, and it will also add flavor. That's not everyone's cup of tea. I do it sometimes, but you don't want something to be too bacony. You want it to be, taste like elk or deer or whatever. So use bacon moderately if you do. Another way to do it is, if you want to make sure you don't screw anything up, is sous vide. It's an excellent tool for creating reliably medium rare, tender, juicy roasts. If you're kind of tech leaning, like that's a cool way you can really dive deep into that and get the perfect roast. I generally don't. I don't even have a sous vide. I don't have anything against them, but I've always been a little bit against kitchen gadgets. So I try to keep things simple, especially when creating recipes, because not everyone has a sous vide. So you don't want to say, oh, just break out your sous vide and do this. But it does work well. One of the most important things with oven roasts is to rest always. So take it out. Don't start carving that thing right away. Let it rest. 15-20 minutes. It redistributes the juice. Everything calms down. It's going to be much better. You can slice at the table with these roasts, which is really nice. Everyone always kind of likes that presentation. So on the Harvest Nature website, I have a guide to making a venison sirloin tip roast, which is one of my favorite oven roasts off the deer. Step by step will give you like a perfect medium rare, beautiful sirloin tip roast. We also have a guide from our field staff writer, Brad Trumbo, on how to make a sous vide venison roast. So if you are interested in doing an oven roast for the holidays this season, check out those links on Harvest Nature, and we'll include all of these links in the show notes. The other option, if we're not talking about oven roast, we're talking about braising roast or slow cooker roast, crock pot, whatever you want to say. These are the shoulder, neck, shank kind of deals. These cuts are collagen-rich workhorse cuts that shine over long, gentle cooking. You want to break everything down. You want to break down all those connective tissues like we always talk about. Turn that collagen into gelatin. These guys are really good for like making kind of a fall apart roast with gravy or whatever you want. You can use either your crock pot or heavy duty braising pot or Dutch oven for these cuts. I always prefer Dutch oven for several reasons. Weirdly, they're actually safer than crock pots. People often think that a crock pot is a safer way to leave something cooking while you leave the house. In truth, your oven is made to contain fires, and more crock pots start house fires than ovens. I've read that somewhere before. I don't know if you want to check that or not, but I'm pretty sure it's actually safer to leave it in the oven. Also, with the Dutch oven, you can just sear everything in the same pot, pour in your liquid, put it right in the oven. Easy peasy, where the crock pot, you either have to skip the searing part, which kind of sucks. It's not totally necessary, but it adds lots of that Maillard reaction and brown flavor. So you either have to sear it and then put it in your crock pot, making two dishes dirty. Also with the Dutch oven, you can remove the lid during cooking to kind of reduce everything, or just remove the roast, set it right on the burner, and reduce the liquid in the pot afterwards. So those are the reasons I like using a Dutch oven, but using a slow cooker is still perfectly fine. And it's a good way to reduce workload and worry during cooking. So I have nothing against them. I still use them. So for all these cuts, like I mentioned, the shoulder, neck, shank, anything, you can do it boneless or bone in, whatever you want. You're going to cook on low for about 8 to 10 hours, or braise in the oven at about 275 degrees Fahrenheit for about 4 to 6 hours. Make sure there's liquid. You can use wine, you can use beer, you can use stock, whatever you want. Those shoulders and arm roasts, necks, and all those beautiful things create really silky, beautiful gravies too, so don't sleep on the gravy. We have a bunch of awesome guides and recipes on the Harvest Nature website. We're just going to point you to some of these. Our field staff writer, Dustin Carroll, has a great recipe for slow-cooked venison shoulder. He roasts that with veggies. Justin has a guide to making a neck roast in the slow cooker. Writer Chase Waller has a wine-braised antelope shoulder roast. Justin has really cool indigenous inspired recipe for juniper braised arm roast. So the arm roast is basically that section of the shoulder between the elbow and the scapular shoulder blades. So there's a big chunk of meat just above the shank. That's your arm roast.
It's delicious.
They're really good too. You can cook that whole with the shoulder or separate it for a smaller meal. He braises that with, like I said, juniper, wild mushrooms, and hominy, I think. Really neat. And like we mentioned, that Mississippi pot roast from scratch, which is awesome even outside of the holidays.
Yeah, one of our highest trending, if I do say so myself, one of our highest trending recipes, and a slap in the face of standard quick meals. Even though it is into itself a quick meal, it just has actual like good flavor. Somebody reached out to me about that just the other day, asking substitutions for mayo in there, and I was like, just use oil. But yeah.
Should be good. It's a roast with integrity, I'd say.
Yeah, it looks upon the other roast and judges them while smoking its pipe.
It's a little snooty, if you ask me. It's tasty. Your other option, like I mentioned, is shanks, especially big shanks, like off the rear shanks, which can be quite meaty off a deer. Moose shanks or elk can be quite large, and they can serve a big group. You can either cut them crosswise into ossobuco, creating kind of these shank medallions that you still cook with wine, tomatoes, herbs, whatever, or you can braise them whole. Justin has this really good citrus smoked and braised venison shanks that just made my mouth flood with saliva just saying it. And then our field staff writer, Natalie Hour, actually has Marry Me venison shank ossobuco. So you know that kind of viral Marry Me chicken or whatever recipe going around?
Yes.
She took it and made it with venison shank ossobuco. If you like those kind of flavors, those comfy kind of flavors, that's really good way to go. And since we're talking about the holidays, you also don't want to sleep on New Year's morning. Maybe you do want to sleep on a New Year's morning. I usually do because I have a late night New Year's Eve. But Justin also has a Hoppin' John recipe with venison shank to bring in the luck of the new year with some delicious braised shanks. Yeah, so that's another great one. One of the benefits of doing braised roasts rather than oven is that they're really great for like buffets or really long meals. The roasts retain that moisture since they're cooked in liquid. They're really hard to screw up. You can spend a lot more time with the guests rather than in the kitchen screwing around. It's just kind of set it and forget it. I find that they're not as like striking maybe as an oven roast, but if you're worried about spending too much time in the kitchen or worried about screwing up, they're definitely the way to go, I'd say. What would you say for something that if you want to put in the work, if you really want to get in all that hard work and do something ridiculous, what's something that will really blow your guests away, Justin? Do you have any?
Well, if you want jaws to drop, this is your lane. Let's talk about Wellingtons, French loins, crown roasts, turduckens. We mentioned them earlier, but the venison Wellington, I've seen it so many times on the socials. A lot of people like to make them. Favorite. If you listen to our Halloween episode, some people like to make them with poison mushrooms, which is terrifying. So be careful what you put into your venison roast and be careful at whose house which you eat this. But I would say, for a venison Wellington showstopper, practice all these before you do it. Don't roll out of the gate with that, maybe except for the French loin, which I'll talk about in just a moment. But the Wellington, you want to use the back strap or the center cut part of the loin. That way it's nice and uniform. Remember I talked about the 3 different sections of the loin. The one that's kind of, the front is kind of has sinew through it, a little bit of mixing of grains, and it kind of tapers off. Your middle one's your more uniform piece, and your round one's kind of your larger, more plump piece. You want to use that center cut for this. You want to sear it hard. You want to wrap it in your mushroom Duxelles. Yeah, there we go. My French
spelled
teacher,
like Duxelles.
My French teacher at college is probably cursing in French right now. Minced mushrooms.
Sacre bleu.
Yeah. You can wrap it in prosciutto. Then a puff pastry. I've seen people use pie pastries. I don't know how I feel about that, but either way, c'est la vie. You can also just go off hinge and use other ingredients that sort of work. So bacon, cured meats, phyllo pastry, I don't know, greens, wrap it in delicious, tasty wild greens, lots of cool stuff. There's a bit of mustard in there too that's rubbed around the cut. All kinds of cool stuff you can do and play around with. You want to pull it when it's about 120, 125 internal, and that carryover cooks it to perfection. We've got 2 recipes. Amanda Altman's got a venison Wellington recipe, and then Jeff Benda's got a jackalope Wellington. It's made with both pronghorn and jackrabbit. I'm a huge fan of jackrabbit. I really like jackrabbit. It's a darker meat, so it's fun. It's a fun contrast. I guess not that much of a contrast with the pronghorn, but pronghorn carries that very like herbaceous taste forward, and then the jackrabbit kind of's got a very irony heavy. Think closer to like bear meat if you've had it. I would find that's where jackrabbit tends to live in my mind. Rent free. It just stays there.
I never actually tried it before. I'd like to try that one day. Yeah.
Got to roam the deserts of the Southwest.
Yeah, there's no desert around me right now, just lakes, so not many jackrabbits.
Yeah, that's fair. And then the other one, which is really cool, and you've seen recent pictures on the Harvesting Nature socials of a French loin roast. This is from our buddy Chris. He made that, used Harvesting Nature's Big Game Blend, which is always a great showstopper if you want to add to your spice cabinet. Now's the time. They're selling quick. The holiday season, the tail end of hunting season are like spices fly off the shelves. I think we're already out of stock of like 2 of them, so be sure to get them before they're gone. But these French loin roast, you're thinking like lollipop style ribs clean to the exposed bone, and the best way, I've told so many people how to do this. I have a video saved in my phone that I just send people on how to French them properly. So you want to do it with a string. A lot of people will scrape it with a knife and do all these other things. The easiest thing to do is like tie a string around it, and then you just grab both ends of the string and the meat and pull it, and it just strips everything right off the bone, and you get this really nice, beautiful, clean bone. You want to make sure you clean the meat in between the ribs as much as you can, and then you're pulling all the sinew off, and you cut around the base, like where the bone kind of starts to protrude from the loin. That's where you want to go. You're going to roast it hot and fast for its really dramatic presentation. The grill does really well. It's perfect for herb crust or juniper berries. Those are not perfect for the grill. Those are better for the oven. And then you've got the crown roast, which is where you take this and you shape it in, you take your loin, you bend it around into a circle with your rib bones protruding upward, and that becomes your crown roast. And that's basically 2 racks curved. You can do it with 1 rack if you have a little crown. Maybe you're just a little king or a little queen. But either way, it's really, really good. You can also stuff them with wild rice, cranberries, mushrooms, things like that. That becomes a little more tricky because you have to butterfly open the loin without messing with the bone and all these other things. But still,
sometimes you could just stuff the center too, like if you wrap the whole kind of around.
Oh, there you go.
Kind of make a mound in the center, which is only useful for oven and not grill.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And Brandon Dale's got a cool beer can smoked venison crown roast recipe if you're looking for something fancy. And then the turducken, which this would be more of a wild edition. So your turducken is where you layer duck, goose, turkey, or small game birds. And typically it's done, they like bone out each one of these animals, and it's the whole animal. They almost do like a reverse bone. It's like it's a great concept, but it's still like very, very novel and sometimes challenging to do. But you could also do it to where you just had like a piece of duck, a piece of goose, and some turkey and some small game birds mixed in there, and like tie it together in some roast format. And then you could probably use like the turkey skin on the very outside to like be your kind of like holding together agent. But you want to slow roast that at 275 to 300 until the turkey layer hits the safe temp. That's really where your concern's at. And this is great for hunters with like full freezers of big game because you can kind of play around with it. You've done turducken before, haven't you?
Yeah, I've actually made quite a few of them. I actually have the guide
Subtle brag.
Subtle brag. I've made a lot of turduckens of a day. I used it actually, I started doing it as practice because deboning a bird, not easy. I don't think it's impossible for people, but you do need a little practice. The cool thing about a turducken is that you debone the chicken or duck, then the next one, and then the turkey last, and that the turkey's on the outside. So you have already made all your mistakes on the birds that are on the inside that no one can see. And then your last one, you can get better and better. I have a full guide on the Intrepid Eater website on how to make it, how to debone each bird, and how to put it all together, stuff it. You're basically deboning one bird, adding a layer of stuffing, deboning the next bird, a layer of stuffing, and then the turkey's usually on the outside. You leave the leg bones and wing bones in. So then when you wrap it all together, it looks like a turkey again. We used to have a big friend Christmas party every year, and I made a turducken, and then I kind of get it. Each year I would amp it up a little bit. And then the last year we did it, I think I called it a turduck quailkin. I did a quail, a Cornish hen, a chicken, a duck, a turkey. I made a pork crown roast to crown the bird, and then I made a bacon cape, and that was the pinnacle of ridiculousness.
And you're like, I'm done.
I'm done. That's it. Yeah, but it's so much fun. If you're the type of person to really get into something like that, it's so much fun. You can do any of these games. You can do like quail or grouse or goose or turkey. It doesn't have to be chicken, Super fun. It's a showstopper. People's jaws will drop, and they'll talk about it for years. So if you're up for the challenge, it's really cool.
Yeah, I was just thinking through about like taking and creating. I know we talked about not pasting together a Frankenstein roast, but then my mind immediately went to sort of this Frankenstein roast where it's like, let's do a roast with, maybe take a venison loin and an elk loin and an antelope loin and put them together and wrap them in caul fat and cook that. Like, my mind wandered a lot.
Yeah, we don't recommend Frankenstein roast for beginners, but if you're a mad kitchen scientist, go ahead, do it up, do something crazy. Might not work out for you, but if it does, you'll be famous.
Test it first. I mean, either way, maybe famous whichever way you go. So
yeah, true.
Meet the computer you can talk to. With Copilot on Windows, working, creating, and collaborating is as easy as talking. Got writer's block? Share your screen with Copilot Vision to help spark inspiration, and use Copilot Voice to have a conversation and brainstorm ideas. Or maybe you need some tech help. With Copilot Vision, Copilot sees what you see. Let Copilot talk you through step-by-step guidance so you can master new apps, games, and skills faster. Try now at windows.com/Copilot.
Oh, Hilton stay, your beds are soft and cozy. No lumpy couch, no stiff futon, no shower line at crack of dawn. Oh, Hilton stay.
When you want holiday comfort you can count on, it matters where you stay. Enjoy comfortable rooms and friendly service when you stay with Hilton instead. Save up to 25% this season when you book with Hilton. Hilton for the stay. Terms apply.
Adam, what's other wild game that you feel like will be a showstopper at the table.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be about venison. Like traditionally, geese have been a holiday staple in Europe, like in England and in Germany still. Turkey is often taken over, but the goose is still out there. I don't love whole like Canada geese cooked whole, but like it can be done. You want to roast it low at like 300, crisp up that fat at high heat later on. The fat that renders out, you can then use to cook your sides with, whatever, instead of butter or oil. Goose goes really good with like apples and onions and, cider gravy and the kind of those traditional British and German kind of flavors. It's really nice. A nice mallard or something, or if you're just two people celebrating the holidays, smaller duck as well. They're nice and fatty and rich. They're quite forgiving to cook, very holiday friendly. You can do things like citrus or maple or berry. Like I found the citrus clementine kind of flavors are really nice for Christmas. So lots of different kind of glazes. You can kind of tailor it to the way you like. Brandon Dale has a really good teriyaki glazed duck recipe on the website. Quincy Milton has a smoked duck with apple maple mop sauce, which is delicious. So if you want to get that smoker out for Christmas or for Thanksgiving. And then Amanda Altman has a spicy pomegranate glazed duck, which is really good kind of holiday flavors for Christmas. So that waterfowl kind of section can be really nice for beautiful, delicious showstopper kind of roast. You can also do your wild turkey. A lot of people will save their turkeys from the spring or will shoot a fall turkey if they're allowed to. You remember, these are leaner than domestic birds, and the legs and wings and everything are going to be much tougher. So you want to brine to counter that leanness. You also want to smoke or roast it or fry it with a little bit of like herb butter under the skin. So I just kind of lift the skin and stuff it. You want to pluck these birds if you're going to roast them like this. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's worth roasting a skinless bird. That might just be me, but I don't know. I have on my Intrepid Eater website a full guide to spatchcocking, dry brining, and roasting turkey to perfection. I find the spatchcocking doesn't create as nice of a like showstopper roast to place in the middle of the table, but it's going to be way more delicious, so it's worth.
Till you top it with a pork loin crown roast, and then whatever. Yeah. Or your boned out quail crown roast.
Oh yeah, the whole deal. Another good thing about turduckens I didn't mention is that they're impossible to dry out. There's so much skin and fat and stuffing and everything going on in them that you're not ever going to dry them out, which is a nice benefit because you can definitely dry your turkey out. Another thing is fish, like Justin mentioned for his, was that Christmas you said, your tradition?
Oh yeah.
Catching a nice big fish, doing like a big nice whole roasted fish or steamed fish for a really dramatic Christmas. I know in Europe, the Christmas Eve tradition is often like Eastern Europe. It's actually to cook a whole huge carp, and it used to be wild. It's often they're just raised nowadays, but they would go catch a huge carp. They would keep it in the bathtub and then kill it and cook it fresh up. So we talked about that a long time ago. I think when I first started, maybe my first or second podcast.
Oh yeah, with Jeff Binda on the bathtub carp. Yeah.
Another option if you're talking about carp or other fish is really like a nice smoked fish dip. It's more of the appetizer thing. It's not your big roast like we're talking about, but it's worth mentioning. Matt Dollenbacher, which we had on the podcast a while back, he gave us a really good recipe for a smoked carp dip, so you can check that out. But sometimes, like I said, especially for people like me, holiday meals can sometimes be a smaller affair, so we want to have some considerations for smaller meals. It doesn't mean that it doesn't have to be spectacular, like you can make a spectacular small meal.
It has to be spectacular, you just quit.
Yeah, you get the hell out of here if it's not. Eat some macaroni or Kraft dinner or something for
ramen.
Cooking smaller birds or smaller roasts, like whole loin pieces, smaller birds like a grouse or quail or pheasant. Pheasant's really nice too. Partridge, anything like that. Or you can do like goose, like a goose breast or a fish fillet. It doesn't necessarily have to be the whole thing if there's just two of you or a small family. We have a bunch of awesome ones. I'll rattle them off here just if any catch your attention. We have a mushroom stuffed venison tenderloin from Dustin Carroll, which would be perfect for 2 or 3 people. I have a recipe for seared mallard breast with stewed plums. It's a really nice kind of Christmassy feeling dish. Daniel Pruitt has a really good recipe for Dijon roasted Hungarian partridges. So you can just have a nice little whole partridge for yourself. Justin has a really good one for wild turkey breast Kiev.
Oh, that's me.
Yeah, and that would be a really nice showstopper little mini dish too. delicious. One of my favorites, and it's something I made a few times, I have a recipe for German Christmas goose breast. Why not Gans? I can't even say it. I can't do German. But it's a traditional... It's basically...
German college teachers cursing you in German right
exactly. now. So this one's really great because it takes all the aspects of a traditional German goose Christmas dinner and brings it all down into one goose breast, which feeds 2 people. Delicious, awesome, great. Some other ones are Justin's roasted quail with cornbread stuffing, my recipe for beer braised goose legs on egg noodles with red cabbage, another kind of German one. For something fish, Ben Berkelmans, who used to work with us here, has one for pan-roasted halibut over wild mushroom risotto.
Ooh, that's good.
That's a really elegant dish, really suiting for the holidays. Lindsay Bartosh has one for venison steaks with whiskey cream sauce, just kind of elevated a little bit. And lastly, Justin's seared duck breast with pumpkin cream rigatoni. Great for Thanksgiving, got that autumnal kind of vibe. Really cool. So we kind of went through tons of different options for your centerpiece. What about the other parts of the meal? What about sides? Do you have any ideas for that?
Oh, yeah. I have lots of ideas, of course. Known for my ideas. I would say let's think through, let's go to the foraging world. We've got wild rice. You could do wild rice pilaf with morels, cranberries, toasted nuts. Another great idea, mushroom stuffing with chanterelles or trumpets. And then I really love this one. So just regular potatoes and herbs of your choice. Rosemary is a good one. Mm-hmm. But use goose or duck fat. You're not necessarily going to always get that off your wild birds, but you can go buy it in the store, and it's we'll say wild adjacent product. Mashed potatoes with wild greens. You can use wild fruit sauces for your meat, so all kinds of berries or even, I'm just thinking through like plums or persimmons, not the Asian persimmons, but like the native North American variety of persimmons where I grew up, more akin to plums, I think. But all those things work really well. Cranberry sauce with service berries or choke cherries or high bush cranberries. So you want to cook them down and firm them up. But we've got some great sides here. Lindsay Bartosh has a recipe with pheasant pumpkin cornbread stuffing. It's really great if you've got some game birds on hand. Gunnar Emberg's wild game sausage stuffing is a good option. Adam's got a hen of the woods with wild rice as an autumn salad, which would be definitely a good side. Baked wild mushroom rice, Adam has as well, and then Adam's baked black walnut brie in puff pastry. That's, talk about a showstopper. That one both in taste and appearance.
That one will go quick.
Yeah. Really, really good. And then I like to do my stuffing. I like a seafood stuffing, actually, on Thanksgiving or Christmas. And that you do in there. You get crab meat in there. You get oysters. In Mexican cuisine, they're called chayotes. Cajun Creole cuisine, they call them merletons. And you cut those and put those in there. Those are really good. And then, of course, what would a holiday be without cocktails? Because what else are you going to do when you're surrounded by family for hours and hours and hours? No, just joking. I love my family. Spruce Tip Gin and Tonic. So we had a whole episode with Jamie Carlson about wild inspired cocktails a while back. That's a good one to go back and take a listen to. But with that, you get some spruce tip syrup. You could do gin, you tonic, some citrus in there. That would be a really good one. Adam has a guide to making your own spruce tip syrup. I've done it. It's super simple and straightforward. It's great to keep. We used to keep it and put it on pancakes and all kinds of delicious stuff too. Spruce tip syrup's phenomenal. Maple bourbon, old fashioned. So think about maple syrup, orange peel, a good bourbon. If you're into making bitters, you could do like a black walnut bitter. There's lots of cool things that would go really well with that. Smoked apple cider whiskey. So that's going to be warm and spiced. It pairs so very, very well with the game. And then Brandon Dale's got a great recipe for wild sumac Negronis. I'm a big Negroni fan, so I really like that one. And then if you're looking for wine, I want to shout out to our friends at Pasalaca Winery. They've got delicious wines that pair with wild game. They have a Pair Wild program that you can go through and look on their website, and it offers suggestions on which wines pair with which types of games, reds, whites, all those things, and they're phenomenal. We serve them at our pig camp every year, and really happy for that partnership, not only because we like wine, but their wine is really phenomenal, and the care and attention that's gone through with the pairing of it. You've seen the recipes on our website, all those great, delicious things. So I think it's really, really good. But kind of in closing here, it doesn't matter, if you tagged a deer last week or you're planning a Christmas goose from the freezer that you've been saving since, the spring of this year. Holiday meals in their end are about celebrating what the land provides and sharing it with the people who matter. Wild game connects us to tradition, to history, and to the seasons. Cook it with care, pay attention to your temperatures, don't be afraid to bring global inspiration into hunting, cabin, kitchen. Surprise people, wow people, put them in awe, give them something to go home and gossip about with their friends or knitting clubs down the way. And thanks everybody for listening to this episode. We'll include all these recipes and ideas linked here, and whatever podcast platform you listen to, punch that 5-star button. Leave us a review, tell us we're doing right, or tell us that your holidays don't deserve our food. That's okay too. Thanks everybody. Have a good night.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here, wishing you a very happy half-off holiday, because right now Mint Mobile is offering you the gift of 50% off unlimited. To be clear, that's half price, not half the service. And Mint is still premium unlimited wireless for a great price. So that means a half day, yeah? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.